Welcome guys, Metanick here, and today we're doing the next installment in the Godzilla marathon thingy.
Yay!
I am joined again with
SM15
and Counter J45.
And today we watched King Kong vs. Godzilla, one of the more infamous of the Showa films, I would say.
Yay!
I had seen this film a couple times. I don't know how many times you guys have seen it.
Maybe 3 times in my opinion.
Yeah, this is probably the 3rd time I've seen
it. Yeah, that's probably around the time.
Technically this would be 4th, but 3 times before it.
Okay. Yeah, this is one of the more well-known ones just because of, the whole concept of them putting King Kong and a giant American-known monster against Godzilla. The Japanese, so it's essentially America versus Japan kind of thing going on. And this movie came out in 1962, so it was about...
5 or 6?
It's like 7 years. There's a 7-year difference. And between that time frame is when Toho was making all those other monster movies. And there's actually a lot of interesting backstory to this movie because I don't remember the full details, but originally King Kong was going to be Frankenstein. They were going to have Godzilla versus Frankenstein. But then, that kind of got changed, and I think Toho realized they would make more if they changed it to King Kong, and they got the rights to him.
Yep.
So they changed him to Frankenstein, which is why when you watch this movie, some stuff that they give to King Kong doesn't really make sense, but they kind of, brought it over. Not only because that's how they had written it before, but I think they also wanted to give King Kong a little bit more to him.
Yeah, because he's got nothing compared to Godzilla.
He's literally just a giant ape.
Yeah, literally, there would be no fight if it was the actual King Kong, so they changed him up drastically, I should say.
Yeah. And this film's plot is very basic. Well, we watched the American version because that's the only way you can really watch it here in America, legally. We don't really have any way to watch the Japanese one, so we watched it dubbed and with all the edits. But the plot in that one is, you kind of get like an overview of the events that are going on, and they find out Godzilla has awoken from the iceberg that he was kept in at the end of Raids Again. And now they have to deal with that alongside another plot where there's this like pharmaceutical like TV company that's going to this island to capture a giant monster in order for them to make a profit off of him. And along the way they then clash and the whole movie occurs.
I think it's interesting. We should clarify the fight. Like the big fight happens at the end. Really, it's just a bigger build up.
Yeah, they have a couple. One more interaction before them, but it kind of is like 10 seconds long. It's pretty much them showing off what they can do, and then they kind of split up, and then they get brought back together for the big fight at the end. So that's the fight's about the last half hour. This movie's only about an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
The rest of it's kind of them, finding the monsters, running into them, how everything occurs.
Yep. Yeah, so it's just... But overall, I think it's pretty good, but I think it's more my favorite because of what the concept of it
it's a really cool idea to do.
But looking at it now, the execution probably could have been a whole lot better.
Yeah, out of the 3 movies we've watched so far, we probably were laughing and just having the most fun with this one because you got the original film, which is kind of more serious piece about kind of the effects of the war. You have Raids Again, which is starting this craze, but it's still not completely there. I feel like this one's the real start of what people think of when they think of the Showa era, which are giant monsters fighting each other in goofy fights that just kind of look weird. You got all the weird effects,
and
of course the dubbing in this movie.
I think the American edit made this way funnier than it should have been.
Again, it feels like it is dumbing it down, but they also make changes where I'm more convinced that this was before they actually watched the movie. Like, they recorded these scenes without even seeing the actual scenes. Because there's one scene I could think of, but I think I rather would save it to when we talk about, the fight.
Yeah. I know when we were talking about Godzilla King of the Monsters, the American version of the original, we did say that the movie was clearly dubbing them down. But I feel like this American edit makes that one seem more like more
it could work
tasteful.
As yeah,
like this one really is in your face about kind of how stupid.
Like Godzilla is heading this way, and our plan is this.
They have to cut in every 5 minutes just to make sure that the audience knows what's going on. So much so that they pretty much remove half of the cast's part in the film, like all the political leaders and all them. They're literally just dubbed over the whole time as these people are doing this, so we can.
Their plan is this, and it's it kind of, you could tell this is just really hurting the movie, and it makes me really want to see the difference. It's gonna be a big difference, but other than that, I think the moments that are weird will be weird, but it won't be as laughably.
Yeah, I mean, it'll still be kind of that kind of goofy giant monster film.
For example, the string that's apparently super strong, I could carry giant monsters.
Oh,
yeah. Whereas in the dub, they don't. They play it up a lot more for as it's really silly, it's swinging around like Tarzan.
Yeah, the way they, it's got, this movie's got that classic dub of you listen to the lines, they're oh god.
Not only is it cheesy, but their lips don't sync up, and I feel like that kind of hurts Godzilla in general. If I have to go off on a bit with the whole stereotyping Godzilla in the dubbings.
Yeah, because this was back when, people would look at these films and be oh, they're just, kind of these cheesy giant monster movies. We'll just kind of do whatever voice acting in them. They're not really trying to be serious.
So I'm kind of glad later on they try to get better as the movies progress.
Yeah. Which is, this movie, the Showa films in general, and even some of the Heisei films are really what kind of put that stigma into our culture where they're dubs are clearly, all stupid. Cheesy and they barely match the lips and all that.
But
and this is a prime example of it.
Yeah. So, do you think we should talk about the fight now, or?
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I was trying to remember some of the key stuff. Not only is it the whole them inserting the American actors and kind of that overview, but a lot of times how the movie is cut is kind of very weird. We also didn't even talk about the music either.
Oh yeah,
how they ripped tracks straight from, because this movie was distributed and licensed under Universal because of King Kong. This movie has Universal monster movie songs from Frankenstein and
Creature from Black Lagoon.
Yeah, that's the most standout one, which always distracts me every time they play it.
Honestly, it doesn't bother me because the music does feel more lively. I did at one point see the Japanese fight. I didn't see the whole thing, but the music did feel a little more generic-esque of a Godzilla movie. But I don't know. I thought it kind of livened up the fight a little bit more, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Kind of emphasized more. It was an epic clash of the centuries.
It does stand out more at times, but for me, it's kind of for the wrong reason. It's just look, there's clearly the Creature of the Black Lagoon music.
Oh, look, there's the Wolfmans.
Yeah.
There's Frankenstein.
The only song they actually bring back for this version is the King Kong song, which I don't remember what it's called.
It's the
tribal song, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what most people think of when they think of this soundtrack. And it is one of the better films that's in the Showa era. Or one of the better tracks in the Showa, I should say. And yeah, so I think the American version in general is just very strange how it is. Yeah. But I mean, this is kind of the start in which you don't really look at the plot that much because you can pick it apart as much as you want. This is where you start to look at kind of what the monster.
Why the hell would the guy still keep King Kong as a publicity stunt, even though it's gonna probably have negative consequences?
Yeah, or how this is probably breaking so many legal laws about them trying to bring in some strange giant-ass animal into Japan, which they actually do address. They have the Navy come up and they're yeah, you can't do that. So that was funny that they did that after I mentioned it, but yeah, there's just so many weird edits and choices and stuff, but
even yeah. So now do you think we should talk about it?
Yeah, now we can actually talk about
the actual fight. It's laughable, but I can see it as it's a really cool thing. I still think it at moments it's kind of cool. Hey, Godzilla and King Kong are fighting, but the problem is that a lot of it is a lot more cheesier and sillier. For example, well, I got to bring up this moment before we could go any further on what I want to say. Earlier in the movie, in one of the American scenes they added, there was a scientist named Johnson that's claiming oh, Godzilla's brain is this small, whereas Kong's a thinking animal.
Godzilla has a brain about this size. He is sheer brute force. While Kong is a thinking animal. His brain is considerably larger. About 10 times the size of this gorilla's skull.
Watching the actual fight, this is where when I mentioned like they never watched the movie to pinpoint what to say or do. Because clearly in the fight, Godzilla was using his brain, and he was a lot more of a thinking animal than King Kong was just being goddamn stupid.
Yeah, like Godzilla, not only during the fight, but there'd be parts where, he'd run into the electrical wires, and then he'd realize, they're shocking him, so he finds a way around. According to Johnson, Godzilla has the brain of a pea, so he should have just run straight through it like a moron, but no. And then you have instead King Kong, the supposedly more intelligent animal, who continuously keeps running at Godzilla, even though he's spewing fire breath at him.
You'd think he would throw rocks, and then when he's distracted, take advantage of it. No, he'll just dart right through it, even to the point where he'll hurt himself.
Yeah,
he'll roll into the freaking rocks head first.
Yeah, King Kong threw a rock so hard, he made himself tumble face first into a rock.
This is where we're convinced that 7 in total head concussions were inflicted on King Kong because of this movie. And like I said, it's cheesy. Why the hell is Kong Kong's taking the abuse throughout the whole movie, and the whole thing is just weird. Oh yeah, we should probably briefly mention that this movie was rumored to have 2 endings. Yeah,
there was a false rumor that's been going on ever since the movie came out that apparently in the American copy, they make it very clear that the King Kong wins, which, when you go by the ending of this film, it is very... Well, I think just the American version in general is very clearly pro-King Kong, because it is universal. Because that's why they talk about him the most. They always seem like he's the one that's going to go fight Godzilla.
He's a thinking animal.
He's the one they're rooting for, it always seems like. And at the end, they're like, farewell, King Kong. So, yeah. But the whole rumor was that in this one, the American copy, it was very clear that King Kong won, and the Japanese one, Godzilla won. But in reality, it's left kind of ambiguous who wins. For example, they just kind of split.
From what I actually heard, it was Kong leaves, but you hear Godzilla's roaring at one point. So it's just one of those...
They just kind of stopped fighting, I guess.
Yeah. Which is kind of how a bunch of the Godzilla films eventually go. They just it just ends sometimes, so...
And I'm kind of glad later on they actually give a decisive winner.
Yeah, they do, more or less.
Instead of just abruptly ending. But the only movie...
But, I get why they did it for this, because they didn't want it to, drag out. People get angry, oh, how dare they kill Godzilla, or how dare they kill King Kong. They just kind of was there they fought, they left.
This is where the change really affects the movie. Kong gets struck by lightning, and he gets stronger, and then it looks ridiculous, if you ask me, with Kong getting powered up by lightning.
Yeah, that's clearly what they had written for Frankenstein, because, he was powered by electricity when he was brought back. But because they switched him to King Kong, they're they probably couldn't really think of what else to do for him. And they didn't want him to just, throw rocks and run at him all the time, which they already do.
He does that a lot.
Yeah, so they decided, all right, we'll keep the electricity powers, even if it really makes no sense, which is probably why they tried to write the whole... Oh, look, King Kong arrives when it's thundering and lightning because he's connected to it.
Yeah.
But in reality, they just kind of threw that in there because they wanted to give King Kong a little bit more leverage to Godzilla.
Yeah, but...
Even if it makes no sense.
Yeah. Like I said, certain fight scenes I liked, but then there's those ones that are obviously oh god, it's super cheesy.
This movie, I like to say, is it's a hilarious. It's so easy to laugh at, but it's also still fun. It's a really fun fight because yes, the effects are really cheesy and it looks really weird, but you can't deny that you're still having a really fun time just watching these two kind of go at it in such a ridiculous, nonsensical way. And this movie is kind of interesting because, a lot of the later Godzilla films, they generally just stuck to the suit effects. They didn't really go anywhere differently.
So it was interesting for one brief moment we get a stop motion scene, which I think is kind of funny because imagine the whole movie in that stop motion kind of style. I think it would actually hurt the movie.
Well, yeah, it's just funny because that's what they originally wanted Godzilla to be, much like, the original King Kong. They finally got to do it within that 2 frames of animation right there.
And again, King Kong charges, and then Godzilla does a drop kick like a kangaroo.
Yeah.
Again, So if the guy who plays Johnson is watching this, you're full of shit.
If he's, yeah.
It was a joke.
If he's alive.
It's
if
a
he's
joke.
alive.
He looked pretty old in that movie.
Well, he's full of shit still.
Yeah, he is. He makes no sense.
Okay, I think.
Well, I wanted to.
Well, I was gonna actually segue to it. I was gonna say.
There was something I wanted to say first. It was about. Oh yeah, just some of the other facts, like the use of puppetry too. When they're fighting really far away, they kind of use puppets.
Yeah.
They actually used a live octopus in this film for the part where King Kong was fighting it. Only when they were showing the octopus from far. When he was actually fighting it, it was clearly a fake
rubber octopus with cellophane.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that incredible octopus jumping on his face, which is clearly a reverse of him throwing the octopus.
But I feel like this is kind of one of the last Godzilla films that tend to use a lot of different effects like that. Unless I'm completely forgetting. But I feel like a lot of later ones generally just stuck to suit effects.
Suits and like puppets.
This was kind of the last time they did a lot of those like close-up shots where it was very clearly different and stuff like that. So it's just kind of interesting to point that out. So to me, it felt like they really were trying to do go all out as much as they could at this time to make this kind of spectacular film.
Yeah.
Which props to Tsuburaya for trying, but it's one of those things where over time
it's not working out.
It just becomes a lot more funny and stuff, especially with the tone of the film.
Yeah. But with the recent the MonsterVerse, with the new Godzilla and King Kong movies doing well, they've announced the whole King Kong versus Godzilla, pretty much a remake.
Yeah, so this movie's finally going to remake, which is what people have always wanted to happen again.
And if I have to put my 2 cents in it, I would like what I want is a good fight with them, like with the abilities we've seen them use in like the movies that they showed, Kong Skull Island and Godzilla 2014. I would like how they would fight to be incorporated in a way that's a big spectacle. Kind of like, I know it's like technically one more movie and then we got it, but I want that build up, that excitement that I want the excitement that Infinity Wars has given me. You know what I mean? Like that, how Infinity Wars gave me that feel of like this is the biggest scope about it. Mm-hmm. And I really want one thing. Give us one winner. Don't cop out and have them be both alive like in the original, or fucking stupid that another monster comes in and the two team up to fight it.
Well, I think it's weird though, because the way King Kong and Godzilla have been represented in these MonsterVerse films, none of them are evil. So why are they gonna fight in the first place? That's the one thing I've always kind of wondered with how they're gonna handle this movie. Because yeah, they want to do the whole King Kong versus Godzilla because that's a big thing. But how are they going to do that setup without kind of doing something like, one of them clearly have to be mistaken or they're territorial or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do it.
Or one of them gets struck by fucking lightning.
Yeah. King Kong all of a sudden has electricity powers again.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it happens. For all we know, the effect, that whole thing could be explained in the Godzilla King of the Monsters, or Godzilla 2 King of the Monsters.
Which is funny because although I am interested to see King Kong vs. Godzilla, the next Godzilla film I'm actually more excited about.
Yeah.
Because that's involving a lot of stuff that I enjoy in past Godzilla films, which we will get to when we get to that film.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna say, also back while we're still talking on the MonsterVerse, if I have to be honest, if I had to choose one winner, I do want Godzilla to win because he does have the more superior abilities. Yeah. But I do want a more. I would like also the fight similar to like 2014, where it's like at one point one monster could get the advantage, then the one could one up and actually look like got the advantage. A good tussle, but don't drag it out too long or make it too short. Give us a nice length, and then give us one decisive winner.
Yeah.
I here's the thing. After a certain movie, Batman vs. Superman, gave us a pretty bad taste in my mouth with the fight. Like, it was overall good, but what stopped him? Martha.
Oh, yeah, that movie is... Yeah. So many problems.
Yeah, I just don't want a versus movie where both of them come out fine, unless, if it work. I don't want to, watch a movie, for example... Freddy versus Jason. I don't want both of them to be alive. One has to win. You know what I mean?
Kind of what happened.
Okay, can I? Really?
I feel like both versus films, they usually don't have a clear winner, though.
I know, but I just feel like one versus movie should give a decisive winner. It just would make me feel a little more satisfied.
To me, all I care about is I just want it to be entertaining. That's all
I feel like it is going to be it.
That matters more than anything.
I know, but that's just a little nitpick, and I feel like I've gone on a little more on this, on the what is to come than this one movie exactly. But I feel like
it's fun to speculate because this is one of those films that's always talked about because of just how big it is. Yeah. But all that matters to me is that it'll retain the heart of this original film and just be fun. That's all I really care about, honestly.
They magically have somebody complain about his corns.
Oh, my corns. My corns.
My corns.
But that I think that was more for the dub.
Yeah.
So overall, the actual movie, it's more enjoyable for not what it was going for, but what it is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? In the sense of it's because of how silly, cheesy it is, it's enjoyable. Like another movie, but again, we'll get to that. But I could still see where they're trying to go with this. It's like trying to be this big event. And I mean, think about it. Both movies had a second sequel, Son of Kong and Raids Again. And this is their third and biggest movie. Like, they're in color. They're back on the big screen. Yeah. It's like...
because they're both back in films again, and this is what continued Godzilla's career, and this is what, and then King Kong got a sequel after this one for another Japanese film. So.
King Kong Escapes, which is just weird.
Yeah, that's a weird one, but so this movie was very influential for when it came out because it continued legacies, which was great. Do you want to go first, Connor?
For what?
No, just thoughts on the movie in general.
Oh, I thought it was okay. I mean, I think definitely the first one was better, but this one...
Well, I think it's weird to compare this movie to the original.
Well, yeah.
Because it's kind of going off that thoughts that, like... Because I feel like these movies are definitely, like, trying to be different.
How about Raids Again?
Yeah.
I think Raids Again was a little... I think it made a little more sense.
Yeah,
but
I can agree with that.
But I
Raids Again could be forgettable, but at least it felt more focused and at least still kept
to a degree. I mean the film was still very confused to how much they wanted to focus on a plot, but at least the plot, how it flowed, made sense. This one was very clearly, oh look, two different. Let's put them together.
Yeah, Raids Again. It makes more sense. But this one, I thought this one was more... I enjoyed this one more.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, for me, I think this is one of the more interesting Godzilla films during the earlier period of the Showa era. It's not one of my... I don't know how much of one of my favorites it is, because there's a lot of Showa films that I really like. This is one of the more, obviously, memorable ones. Maybe it's hard for me to say it's one of my favorites just because I haven't seen it as much. But I do think it's very entertaining. Out of the three we've seen so far, this is probably the one where we were having the biggest laughs and just having the most fun because, as I said earlier, because it's just that easy to watch. It's one of those movies that you can watch with a bunch of friends and just kind of have fun.
And especially dubbed because...
Yeah.
Well, unlike the other movie I'm building up, this one can't go to Japanese. There's no Japanese release like you mentioned.
Yeah. And it's just a very
fun movie to just sit and watch and just let it just go out there.
Raids Again started the whole now we're gonna have two monsters fight, and this is the one that I kind of feel put it to better use in terms of really having that come together.
And
and it's just a fun time. If you're a Godzilla fan, I think you've probably seen this film already, but if you're not, then you should because it's one of the most, biggest Showa films.
And there's a remake coming out, so you can see how they differ.
Yeah, now you can see how you can compare them, and I have a feeling they're going to be nothing alike. But
yeah.
So I think that would conclude this review.
Wrap up. Yeah.
So when we come back, Godzilla's gonna fight another Toho monster.
Yep, another one of the more other popular Toho monster movies, and that is going to be Godzilla versus Mothra, or in the American version, Godzilla versus the Thing. You know, from the Fantastic Four, right?
That makes sense.
All right. See you guys next time.